Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Steve Reach coming to you here today. We're going to be taking a look at Brock Lesnar, Here Comes the Pain documentary from his 2003 WWE DVD release. It was also re-released on the Blu-ray Collector's Edition in 2012, shortly after his return to the company at WrestleMania 28, the Monday Night Raw the night after. This is just going to talk about the actual documentary, which is available itself on the WWE Network. You can go and check it out. That's honestly where I checked it out, even though I own this documentary on DVD as well as on Blu-ray. This is going to, sort of take to light Brock Lesnar's first year in the WWE after debuting in 2002 and leading up until 2003. Right off the bat, I thought this was going to be a very funny documentary because very early, we're really thinking that Brock Lesnar is going to be the main event guy for WWE for at least the next 10, 15, maybe even 20 years. Right off the bat, Gerald Briscoe says, and I quote, "Brock Lesnar is a lifer. He loves wrestling and this is what he is born to do." Then why did he pack his bags and why did he leave after WrestleMania 20? He did come back to us, but how much of his career did we really miss when he was going off trying to be a football player? What did we miss when he was going off trying to be a boxer? What did we miss when he was going off and wrestling for New Japan Pro Wrestling? What did we miss while he was fighting in MMA for UFC? Before coming back after his UFC career was done? It's not like he, had a bucket list of these are things in WWE I was not able to, achieve that I want to go back and do. He basically was saying, I can't do UFC anymore. How am I going to make money? How am I going to make money? Where's the easiest money? I'm going to go get it. That is exactly what it was. But basically, Stevie Breach's personal rant against Brock Lesnar is done. We're just going to be taking a look at the actual documentary release. This is going to talk about Brock's first year in the company, his debut, him winning the King of the Ring, his first SummerSlam main event going up against The Rock, his feud against Undertaker, which would turn into a feud against The Big Show, and then finishing up at WrestleMania 19, going up against Kurt Angle. These are all really big things for anybody to do in their first year in WWE, debuting the night after WrestleMania, leading up to main eventing the WrestleMania the next year, after winning the Royal Rumble, having an awesome match against Kurt Angle. Brock's gonna go down as a Hall of Famer. Brock might not have had been a guaranteed Hall of Famer if he had not returned to WWE in 2012 and had the run until 2018. It's hard to really think, even though he's a part-timer, that he's been back in WWE for 6 years now. That, I guess he did Triple H, Undertaker, Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose. What did he do at 33? 33 was against Goldberg, wasn't it? And then 34, yeah, wow. He's done a lot of stuff in WWE that I can't really believe he's been back for 6 years, because honestly it feels like yesterday, and they keep him sort of, safe because he's not really out there all the time, that you don't really get worn out by him like a guy like Roman Reigns or John Cena, that you just basically say that you've seen it all and you don't know what there is left for him, because every time he comes back, even though I talk crap about him, I jump up out of my seat and there I am cheering for him. But we have Brock debuting after WrestleMania, coming out and attacking the Hardy Boys, which would turn into a feud where Brock was actually having what am I trying to say? Handicap matches, where it was Brock Lesnar against the Hardys, where he would defeat both of them. And the story behind the story is that Vince really liked the way the Hardys sold and thought that they could get in there and really sell for Brock, and that's the reason why they were put into that. Brock entered the King of the Ring in 2002, that he would go on and win by beating Rob Van Dam. Then he would go on and have a match against Hulk Hogan on SmackDown, which he would basically kill and defeat Hulkamania. This would be Hulk's last match in WWE. really, honestly, off the top of my head, I think it might be his last match that he ever had, because the whole deal behind that scene was that Vince asked Hogan to do the job. Hogan said that he would do it, and Hogan has always said that he worked out a deal that Hogan would be the guy to defeat Brock and get the get the title from him at Survivor Series, and that was sort of the handshake deal. There's also a talk that Hogan dropped the belt to Goldberg, and the word was that once Goldberg wasn't doing the business that he was supposed to be doing, that Hogan would get to be the guy to defeat Goldberg and end the streak, and both of those things didn't come to be. But off the top of my head, I don't think he would come back, because Hogan wrestled those matches at SummerSlam against Shawn and against Randy, so those wouldn't be it. But that was definitely one of the biggest ass kickings that Hogan ever got. And when Hogan came back for Hogan's birthday on Monday Night Raw, which was leading up to SummerSlam, I believe 2013, and Brock came down and got in his face, I mean, I really wanted to see Hogan versus Brock again. I thought that was going to be something. We would go to SummerSlam 2002. At that time period, I thought that was one of the biggest SummerSlams that WWE had done. I thought they really capitalized on Brock versus Rock. It was one of the few times that I can really remember WWE being in the pop culture, where actually people at my work, when I first started working at my job, people actually were talking about Brock versus Rock, and they had to get home because they were going to order the pay-per-view, and they wanted to make sure that they were going to see it. I know that I watched SummerSlam that year, and I was still into wrestling. I just wasn't as big of a fan as I had been in the past. Brock would defeat Rock. Rock would go on to make some movies. Brock would carry the championship. From there, he would go into an immediate feud with The Undertaker. They would have the match, I believe, at Vengeance, I think is what it was. They have one hell of a fight. The match ends in a disqualification. They fight their way up the ramp. Undertaker ends up throwing Brock, or is the other way around? Somebody throws somebody through the actual set, which then would lead to them basically saying that they could not control Brock and Undertaker in the ring, so they would put them in Hell in the Cell. Brock would defeat Undertaker, and then he would climb up on top of the cell, having that King Kong-like moment of him, climbing up on top of the cell, holding the title, basically saying that this is now his yard, this is his place, that he's going to be running for years to come, which would then lead to Brock having a match against Big Show at Survivor Series, is where we would have Brock's face turn, where Paul Heyman would turn on Brock Lesnar, joining forces with the Big Show, or Big Show would defeat Brock. And I think off the top of my head, that match is only 3, maybe 4 minutes long. It's in the middle of the show, even though Brock was the main event guy. And it's just an honest, screw job finish to get the title off of Brock, to sort of get him on the chase and reheat him up to win the Royal Rumble, where he would go on and face Kurt Angle at WrestleMania. That match is probably most known for Brock climbing up to the top turnbuckle and doing the shooting star press, a move that you can see that he did in developmental, that he did early on in his career, and they thought that was going to be the perfect exclamation point on the match to sort of say that this is Brock Lesnar's moment, this is his time, he is the guy to carry the business, and he landed on his face. Left us with WrestleMania pictures that we're always going to remember, but anytime you watch WrestleMania 19, you can definitely tell that Brock does not know where he is. He does not know what is going on. If you watch the WrestleMania Mania documentary on the WrestleMania 20 DVD, you can see how much pain Brock was in. He basically didn't know where he was backstage. They knew he had a concussion. They were trying to get him to go to the hospital. He's fighting everyone in the back, including Gerald Briscoe, who was one of the guys that was close enough to Brock that people would consider him like a friend or like a father figure to him. You can see him get thrown across the TV screen. it was a damn good match. It just has that one moment that sort of ruined it from being a WrestleMania 5-star classic that everybody thinks of as one of the best wrestling matches of all time. From there, we get a little bit of an Easter egg in the documentary of them talking about Backlash, which would be John Cena coming into WWE, becoming that guy who was going to face Brock at Backlash in the main event for the championship. John Cena isn't really the John Cena that we would know of as today, but it is getting us to the point of why John Cena is a big thing in WWE today, because he just pushed himself to that point very early in his career as well. And then we're left with the stretcher match from Judgment Day of 2003, where they brought back the stretcher match after I believe, like a 25-year absence. The match is really nothing spectacular, but it's just something to leave you with, that, Brock is going to be having lots of big matches in the upcoming future. But as you can know, within 6 to 8 months would be WrestleMania 20 after Judgment Day, and Brock would leave, and we wouldn't see him again until WrestleMania 28. So this was not in his blood. He was not a lifer. He was in here for the money. He didn't like the travel. He didn't like being away from home, and he didn't love wrestling. Nothing like it was. So it's a good DVD release, but honestly, at the end, you got tons of questions about why Brock never really reached the potential that he did, why he never had the career he did. And you wonder why Brock doesn't have a new DVD documentary release where WWE sits him down and talks to him about everything that's happened in his career, because people would buy that up like gangbusters. I haven't watched that Brock Lesnar Blu-ray that I picked up a few years ago, but it's just one of those releases that are jam-packed full of matches and no real commentary on what's going on with them. And I think that's why a lot of people shy away from adding those to their collections.